I'm the Events and Program Coordinator at the Aurora Public Library. And I'm very excited to be joined today by our awesome panel and our ladies from the League of Women Voters Aurora area. And that's Deb and Bertha and Denise. So thank you so much for everyone for being here today and for joining us. So a couple things that I wanted to kind of mention is that this is an informational session. So this is, for us to share with you the information that we have so that people can learn more about county boards. Just a few kind of like housekeeping things. We are streaming live on Facebook, and this will be available afterwards on YouTube for people for whenever they are able to tune in. And also, we are going to have everybody muted so that there is no background noise or any kind of interference. But if you do have a question, please pop it into the chat and we will make sure that it gets answered. Okay, so just so you know, your camera can be turned on or off. That's up to you either way, whatever you prefer, just might show up in the video. And I think that's pretty much everything. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Denise to introduce our amazing panel.
All right, thank you, Krista, and thank you to the Aurora Public Library for partnering with us to host what we hope will be an ongoing series of civic education programs. So my name is Denise Ellsbury. I'm one of the co-vice presidents for the League of Women Voters for the Aurora area, along with Deb Fisher and Berta Bailey. And I see many league members here, but there may be some people that will be watching this on Facebook. And so just to let you all know a little bit about the League of Women Voters, it is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation of citizens in government. It influences public policy through education and advocacy. And for the League of Women Voters in the Aurora area, we cover Aurora, Montgomery, North Aurora, Oswego, and Sugar Grove, and the surrounding communities. So some of the primary things that we do are voter registration and voter education, of which this is part of it. Civic education, learning about our government, how it works, and having an opportunity to interact with those representatives in our community. And if anyone would like any more information about the League of Women Voters Aurora area, our website is lwvaurora.org, and we can pop that into the chat as well if anyone needs it. There's membership information in there, and we welcome members of all genders. We're really excited this evening to kick off our civic education program, where we will be featuring different governmental levels and learning from our representatives in those governmental levels about kind of what that body does. And so we're kicking it off this evening by talking about county governments and what does our county government do for us. And we're really pleased this evening to have 4 county board members, 2 from Kane County and 2 from Kendall County. And so what we're going to do to start off the program is I decided, because I couldn't decide any other way, was to just go in alphabetical order. So we're going to do Kane County first, and then we'll do Kendall County. But we'll start with Kane County, and I will introduce the county board members, and they have about a 10-minute presentation between the 2 of them that will let us know a little bit about the Kane County Board. And then the Kendall County Board members, I will introduce them, and they will do a presentation about the Kendall County and Kendall County Board. And then we'll open it up for questions. And that's when I would invite you to, if you have any questions, type them into the chat, and then I can pose those questions to our panelists. So we can give them a Zoom welcome and thank you to our panelists here. So I would like to introduce Mavis Bates and Myrna Molina, who are county board representatives in Kane County. So Mavis and Myrna, take it away.
Myrna, do you want to share first?
Sure, I'll go first. That's fine. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Myrna Molina, and I am a King County Board member representing District 1 in Aurora. I was appointed to fill this vacancy in 2006 from the summer until the general election of that year, which happened to be right after the birth of my daughter. So I was on maternity leave, so I had a couple extra hours in the day to go to meetings. In 2010, I ran, I was elected. I've been fortunate enough to serve on the majority of the standing committees. And in 2020, we elected a new chairperson, and the county at this point is embarked on a new era of leadership. I currently serve as the chairperson of the Judicial and Public Safety Committee, and I'm very excited about this new role. As chairman of this committee, I will be serving on the Emergency Telephone System Board and KaneCom. I also serve on the Energy Environment, Executive, Jobs, Labor Management, and the CARES Allocation Committee. This particular committee was tasked with distributing the $93 million Kane County received from the CARES Act funding. And under their leadership at the time, I was just appointed to this committee. We've been able to allocate funding to our municipalities, townships, fire protection districts, forest preserve, park districts, library districts, and we've also been able to set aside funding for our small business, nonprofits, and cultural institutions. During this pandemic, we've been able to maintain as many of our services open for our residents. Many of these services have been done by appointment only. And just recently, under our new leadership, we've been able to implement mandated mask wearing in our county buildings. I will start sharing my slides now. I guess a couple of things that I'm excited about in the next quarter will be really working towards our continued vaccine distribution, and then the federal COVID-19 relief package was just approved at the end of December, and hopefully Kane County will be receiving about $15 million to assist families with rent and mortgage relief. So those are the two projects I think as county board members we're very excited to embark on. And then let's talk a little bit about our county government structure. So I will start sharing. Hopefully I know how to do it right, so give me 1 minute. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what can the county board do for you? And I guess Mavis, this is where we can kind of come in if you wanted to do your introduction, and then we can go through the structure.
Sure.
Okay.
So my name is Mavis Bates, and as Myrna told you, or maybe she didn't tell you, she's been on the county board for approximately 10 years. I've been on the county board for approximately 10 weeks. If that. So that's part of why I asked her to go first. I'm thrilled to be elected to the Kane County Board. I am the chairman of the Environmental and Energy Committee, which is, as you all know, probably typecasting as far as I'm concerned, because I've been on Sierra Club, chairman of Sierra Club and chairman of the Aurora Green Fest for many years. So I'm excited to be on the Kane County Board. I'm looking forward to the things that we can do. Myrna has already done many things. I'm looking forward to helping with this $15 million disbursement for renters, to help renters. There's also wonderful things we can do in terms of helping people who need to get retrained, who've lost their jobs during COVID-19. So as we move forward, I'm just very happy to have this opportunity to help my county. Like Joe Biden said, we all want to do our best for America, and I get to do my best for Kane County. So go ahead, Myrna. Do you want to do your, move your slides forward?
Sure. So we'll just talk a little bit about Kane County government structure and background. There are approximately 532,000 people living in Kane County. And this just is a little bit of the reading material where we're located. We are composed of 24 members. The primary function of our board is to establish budgets and to levy taxes. Every 10 years, there is a redistricting process, and that's another task that we will be doing this quarter is redistricting. And let's see, so this is our county board map. So I have our county board chairman, chairperson, Karine, and our representatives. I think Monica is on too, so, but these are our representatives. And then this is our structure. So there are 13 standing committees, administration, agriculture, committee of the whole, county board, county development, energy and environment, executive, finance, human services, jobs, judicial and public safety, legislative, public health, public service, and transportation. We have many ad hoc committees and subcommittees as well. And then I will go to agriculture, I guess. That's one of our newer committees. And basically this committee was built to offer assistance to our agencies and municipalities to address concerns with agriculture. I'll go back up to this slide just to show you the kind of the map of what Kane County looks like. And I think Mavis might have a better slide. But basically, if you look at Kane County, we're kind of divided into 3 sections. We have our rural area, our, I guess I'd call it more suburban area, and then our urban area. So our rural area is, you know, full, rich in agriculture. So the agriculture committee is really used right now to represent their interests and making sure that we all have enough to eat and try to make it as easy as possible for, you know, to have local food product. And I guess, Mavis, I guess I'll just keep going through my slides, or do you want to talk a little bit about?
The switch, so why don't you go through
Okay.
your slides and then I'll do mine.
So then we have the Finance and Budget Committee structure, and basically this committee is tasked with, you know, going through budget proposals of all the different departments, and they have the auditor and the treasurer and the finance director report to this committee. Judicial and Public Safety is another committee that we have, and basically this committee has jurisdiction over all matters pertaining to the state's attorney, public defender, the police function of the office of the sheriff and the coroner. This committee also has jurisdiction over the youth home, the diagnostic center, adult corrections, court services, juvenile court services, adult probation, community correction services. It's a big committee.
And you're the chairman of it. Don't forget you're the chairman.
Yes, I am the chairman. And there's a lot of, you know, a lot of services that are provided by our judicial and public safety partners. And I think we're lucky to have a really great partnership with everyone, from our sheriff, our new state's attorney, our public defender, our new circuit clerk. So it's a very exciting time in Kane County right now, I think, because of all our new leadership. Legislative committee has jurisdiction over any legislative matters in our committees in our county. So basically they try to recommend any action with any pending or proposed legislation. We were talking about this just yesterday, Mavis and I, how, you know, Springfield moves in one way and Kane County moves in another, but this committee is trying to bridge what's happening between the two governing bodies. And then we have our public health committee, which, you know, I think we, you know, it's been so far the most important committee in this last year for us. And the Department of Public Health has done an amazing job in trying to keep us all safe. So they have many essential services that they provide, and they're responsible for making sure that we, provide, address health problems and hazards affecting the population. They communicate effectively, provide support and mobilize the communities and partnerships. I discussed a little bit about our vaccine distribution program. Our public health department has coordinated with over 43 agencies in the last few months to be prepared for this vaccine distribution. They do many great things. And then we have our animal control, and they make sure that we have all domesticated cats and dogs vaccinated for rabies, along with other important tasks. And then we have our public service committee. So in our public service committee, the county clerk reports to this committee. So that they have a lot of services that we pretty much, I think, relate to with the, elections, the voting, the passports, and property tax information. The recorder is also reports to this committee, as does the superintendent of educational services, our Veterans Assistance Commission, Board of Review, and the supervisor of assessments. And that is all for me.
Okay, well then I'll take over. I will share my screen here. We practiced this before the meeting, so it should go well. Perfect. Okay, and I am full screen, so I think this is working great. So what can your county board do for you? And so I thought I would start with the, I am not, okay, we practiced this. There we go. Okay, I started with the mission statement of the Kane County Board. I thought that would be a good place to start. The mission of Kane County government is to be accountable to its citizens in providing innovative and high quality government services in an economical, fair, professional, and courteous manner to enhance and protect the health, welfare, and safety of those who live and work in Kane County. So what does that mean exactly? It means we won't be rude, we won't be nasty, we will not waste your money, but the most important words here are the health, welfare, and safety of those who live and work in Kane County. Health, welfare, and safety. So those are the most important things that we need to provide to our residents, to our people. So these are some of the things that I had trouble understanding when I was learning about the Kane County Board. And when you say, what does the Kane County Board do for me or for you? One thing it took me a while to understand is that there's incorporated versus unincorporated Kane County. So for example, the county has greater jurisdiction and responsibility in the unincorporated areas. An example would be inside the city limits where I live and where Myrna lives, inside the city limits, we would call the city of Aurora Police, just as someone who lived inside Batavia would call the Batavia Police. Outside the city limits, such as just south of Prairie, over here by Prairie and Terry, they would call the Kane County Sheriff. So that's an example how in the unincorporated areas, the county has more responsibility and more jurisdiction. Another example is inside the city limits, if you wanted a zoning variance, to chop a lot in two so you could sell them as separate lots, you would call the city zoning board in Aurora. Outside the city limits, you would call the Kane County Development Committee. So that's a way that the Kane County Board has jurisdiction out in, say, a rural area, and but not the same jurisdiction here in Aurora. So when I'm canvassing, knocking on doors, people say, well, what does the county do? The answer is much different if I'm south of Prairie or north of Prairie. That's just my example here in my district. Oh, I'm in District 4. That's the west side of Aurora, kind of the southwest side, but mostly the inner west side. So another interesting thing about being on the Kane County Board for me is that it is a representative form of government. which means there's 2 layers of responsibility for me and for Myrna and for Monica Silva, who's on here also. There are 24 county board members. And first, these could be in different order. It doesn't have to be first and second. But one layer of our responsibility is to our constituents. So we have to be, bringing home solutions for our constituents. For example, flooding issues or noise issues. And those are some issues that I'm working on right now. So we have to be thinking about our own district, my district 4 here on the west side of Aurora. But the second level of responsibility is for making decisions for the whole county, where we have to make decisions about the entire budget, about, zoning out in Elburn. We have to help make those decisions. So if I'm talking to somebody.
You have about 4 more minutes, Mavis.
Somebody nudge me under the table. Somebody kick me under the table. Oh, you can't do that. Okay, so looking at our standing committees, just like Myrna did. So we split up the committees, 4 minutes. Okay, thanks, Deb. The administrative committee takes care of the property that is owned by the county. And it is in charge of building the new multi-use facility, which will include the new coroner's office. So that's something that, we're doing for our constituents. We're making the coroner's office a better place to take care of our loved ones who have passed. County Development Committee, well, this is a committee that acts as a zoning board for the unincorporated areas. For example, they had a big discussion about the approval of a 100-acre site for Anderson Animal Shelter. There is also going to be a lot of discussions about cannabis businesses in the unincorporated areas. That is always a big conversation because it does bring out the pros and the cons. But that's a zoning issue. Are we going to allow dispensaries or growing or processing, maybe a little factory or something to make the CBD? Human Services Committee, I'm on this committee. This is one of the committees I'm on. We are responsible for taking care of our employees. Benefits, including Blue Cross Blue Shield, veterans benefits, and workman's comp. So we always say, well, how come people are getting bit by dogs in the animal shelter? How come people are getting punched in the jail? And they say, we're working on safety. Always we're working on safety for our employees. Veterans benefits, tons of good work coming out of the veterans department. So if you're a veteran and you need help getting your benefits, call us, call me. Okay, the Transportation Committee takes care of all the county highways. Orchard Road, Randall Road, Fabian, Kirk Road. I don't know if that's all, there might be some others, but those are the ones that are pretty close to us. Repair, maintenance, and improvements. There was a detailed discussion about putting a Thornton's gas station at the corner of Randall and Route 47 and how to make that safe and avoid accidents. So the Jobs Committee, this is about job retention and creation in Kane County. So we're trying to maintain and increase employment in Kane County. If you need a job, I can give you the number to call. We're promoting jobs that pay more wages, and there is a grant program that includes up to $10,000. This is my last sentence, Deb. Grant programs that include up to $10,000 in training and retraining, especially during COVID for people who lost their jobs. So that's my last slide. And I will unshare. Okay. I think
all right. Thank you, Myrna and Mavis, for sharing with us, giving us some information about Kane County. So now I would like to introduce Amy, let's see if I say it right, Sesich.
Yep, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Amy Sesich and Robin Vickers, who are board members in Kendall County, and they are going to share some information with us about Kendall County. So we will welcome them. Thank them for being here. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'll speak first. I didn't even ask Robin. That's terrible, but that she knows me well enough anyway. I feel like after that presentation with Myrna and Davis Myrna and Mavis, I can actually just come in and say ditto. So whatever they just said, whatever they just said, it's pretty much ditto for us. We have a little bit of a smaller county than they do, so they have quite a few more committees than we do. Just to introduce myself, my name is Amy Sesich. I actually was on the county board back in 2012. I was actually the first Democrat to ever be elected in my district. We have 2 districts, 1 and 2, sort of the north and the or the east and the west sides of the county. So they divided them up into 2. So I always try to get that out, that I was the first in 2012. It's a little feather in my cap because nobody thought I would do it, and I did it. Anyway, so now I served 2 years, and then in 2014, in 2018, I tried again and got elected to a 4-year term. And that's where Robin and I have been serving together. So just to be a little bit different, thankfully I did ask Myrna and about the committees and how we were going to talk about things so that we wouldn't overlap too much. And I think with the county board and our duties for any size county, they relatively are about the same. So I'll kind of go through before Robin introduces herself, going through the fact that we are legislative and executive form of the branch of government. So when you think of the 3 branches of government, we mostly do the legislative and executive. So we enact ordinances, resolutions that can apply either to the county, specifically to unincorporated areas. Like I think Mavis was stating that most of our duties and most of our things go towards the unincorporated parts of our county. The executive branch would then be the how the board administers the activities of the county department, except those that are headed by other elected officials. So even though we have oversight over the budget appropriations, we don't manage their offices. So like the treasurer's office, the clerk's office, the sheriff's office, state's attorney, even though we have oversight and do the budget appropriations for each of the county offices, we don't manage anything within there. So ours doesn't go on beyond past, our elected office and into those. The governance, I think I can let Robin start going through that, but we wanted to really touch on the fact that, and I think even Mavis said it, when you're campaigning for this job, when you go door to door and say, I'm running for county board, one of the biggest statements that we get is, what does the county board do? So I really liked when we were approached about this subject, because what it does is allows us to have sort of a format to talk about what the county board does, because we don't obviously hit every single door. And I know a lot of people running this past year was, for other elected, offices, you couldn't knock on doors. So there are times, obviously, we cannot do that. So I appreciate having this format, and thank you to the Aurora Public Library and the Women League of Voters. So, or League of Women's Voters. Gosh, I always say it backwards. I just noticed that before Robin goes on, she's like, all right, probably, like, come on, Amy. There's a seal up, and I'm pointing to my screen like you can see it, but there's a seal in the upper left. Robin and I actually were able to work on that seal. This is the first time the Kendall County has had an adopted seal, official. So, regale in our beautiful seal. But I did want to point that out. This was the first time, and Robin and I actually had a lot to do with that. I was actually vice chair for the first 2 years, which also was another first to have a Democrat in that leadership role as well. We did lose a Democrat member this past election, so we didn't quite have the numbers for me to keep that. But at any rate, just wanted to point out our seal really quick, and then I'll let Robin, not let her, but she can go and do her introductions and talk about the governance. Robin? She's still there. She's falling
I'm
asleep.
here. I'm muted.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I always have to mute because I have 2 teenage boys and 2 dogs and a husband that are loud. So,
Yes.
So I ran for the board in 2018. I actually did not do the paperwork and petitions to run originally. When there was no one from my party running, I was slated. So for the November election, I was slated in June. So I got a very, very late start in the process, and immediately started going to board meetings to watch and learn. So I was a very quick process, which actually now seeing how long campaign cycles go for people, I actually am really happy it worked out that way for me. It was also a 4-year term, so I will be up in 2022 when the entire board is up for re-election, and the districts will be redrawn based on census, and then everyone runs again. So it could be a big turnover in 22. So anyone that's watching and you're interested, that's always a good year to run because it's kind of starting from scratch. So back to this, and I apologize, I have this on my big screen to the left so that I can see it. Otherwise it's tiny on my laptop. So as far as governance goes, as the primary duties of the board, one of the big ones is adopting an annual budget for the county, establishing tax rates, and authorizing bond issues. So the way we handle budgeting in Kendall County is each of the departments that we appropriate money to comes in. We have 2 days of budget hearings where they come in and they present their budget, and they've worked with our administration office, the finance person, what they expect they're going to need to spend, and what they would like to do and increase. And then they come and present to us, and we ask questions and just have a discussion about what they need and where we're going and how it's going to be funded. It's for me, being new, that I sat through it as a candidate, which was really informative because I learned so much just in those 2 days about all of the different departments and how they spend money. As Amy said, we don't have oversight. We appropriate the money, but then once we have the appropriation, it's theirs to spend how they want. So if they decide they don't want to spend it all on one thing and they want to spend it somewhere else, they can, or they can spend it, that's within reason because they have to stay in the budget items. But if they decide they want to buy new chairs with their capital money, then that's what they can do. So it's interesting to not have that say about every little thing, but that's what the elected officials are responsible for. As far as establishing tax rates, that's the property tax levies typically for the most part. So after the budget is presented and we know how much money we need for the next year, you've probably heard of PTEL, which is the tax extension law. And so it's how you figure out how much levy you want to you need to do to make up for CPI, the consumer price index, or inflation each year. So each year, the price of goods goes up, employees get raises, so your budget expenses go up. So the CPI and PTEL are a way to account for that in the in your budget and receive money to do that. The press often likes to call it a tax increase. I don't think it's not a tax increase. It is a cost of living, cost of inflation increase. So yes, it might mean your taxes go up, but it's because the cost of the goods went up as well. So this is one of the hot button issues for me that I like to make sure people understand, because no one ever wants to pay more taxes, but we also are running essentially a business, and if our costs go up, we should be able to match that. In Kendall County, we have not taken that CPI increase for the last 4 years, so it is something we've been able to do with very strict budgeting and that sort of thing. But many counties do. I think Kane takes that increase every year. Then the quasi-judicial role that we play is the zoning, planning, and land use. So it's much as they were discussed earlier, deciding how the land is zoned. I think we probably have a more farm ag land, not by area because you're so much bigger in Kane, but just percentage wise of the county. So it's how that is zoned. This was very much in the news and people paying attention to during the cannabis legislation on what zones we were going to allow. First, if we were going to allow any cannabis businesses, and then what zones we were going to allow them in. Oops. There we go. So we wanted to talk about, there's three kinds of county board, or three structures, and Kane and Kendall are different. And so we thought we would just share the three kinds. And since we are different, we knew it wouldn't be an overlap topic. So there's the township organization, which is what Kendall is. And then there's the commission organization. And then there's the county executive or home rule organizations, which is what Kane County is. To be home rule, you have to have a certain population, and Kendall County doesn't meet that. So that's why we are a township format.
Okay, so thanks, Robin. Robin put this together. We worked on it today and tried to kind of whittle it down to, I think what I think had questions about when we were running, and what's interesting as far as what really affects the or impacts the public. So when we talk about that we are a township organization, Kendall County has a population of about 130,000 people. We still have not gotten the census numbers back, so we don't know if that's sort of right on the mark still, or if it's gone up, or where we're at. I'll be interested in to see that. We have 9 townships and 2 districts, like I had said before. And so 85 of the 102 counties in Illinois are township counties. So, and we are, like Kane, we are organized by our committees. So, when we look at I guess what is the makeup of a county, and I'm sure that Kane is this way as well. When you look at your rural population, you look at your urban areas, and we have a lot of the committees that we typically get more questions about are those that affect obviously the most or the majority of the population. So we'll see a lot of people have questions about, animal control, for instance. While right now we don't really interact or have any kind of intergovernmental agreement with our municipalities, they will take a stray loose dog if they cannot, determine its owner through their own police service. They'll take it to our animal control. Most places, or most counties, they're either really small and don't have animal control as far as a place to shelter animals, because they'll keep them at maybe the police department or something. So we're building to that in Kendall. We really want to get our animal control working, very smoothly, and with no issues before we start kind of extending the idea to kind of partner with the municipalities. But that is ultimately our goal. But that seems to be, and I think Myrna touched on the animal control aspect of it. The administration, HR, obviously this is a committee that we actually spend a lot of time in it internally. So there's not a lot of public interaction with that. It's a good one if you are wanting to run for the county, to be a county board member, to go to, because you see a lot of the inner workings of insurance and GIS and technology and things like that. So it's a great one to attend. I'll let actually Robin talk about economic development. This is one of her babies, I guess I should say. But really, even with the facilities, I think Myrna even talked about that. I mean, and Mavis, it's, when we talk about our facilities, these are all the buildings that we have to maintain because of the public use, because you have the court system, you have coroner's office and animal control. We just did improvements, $1 million worth of improvements in the past year. So, those are big things that are more internal. than they are, more for the public, because we don't get a lot of questions about, obviously our buildings and things like that. So I'll let Robin, she's definitely better at the economic development side of this. So she speaks to it very well.
Okay, thank you. So we, just like Kane, we work on the economic development in the unincorporated areas of the county. And we provide support to local municipalities as well when they're working on economic development. They may have their own economic development corporations. Yorkville definitely does. Right now, Oswego does not. They have an internal person doing it. So we work with them. If a call comes into our administration office from a company looking to locate in Kendall County, our administration will talk to them about what they're looking for and then help pair them up with the right place in the county, whether it's through through a municipality or if it's should be an unincorporated area. So we do all work together very well. A good example of this, and a lot of Kane folks are involved in it as well, is the old Caterpillar plant, so that's technically unincorporated Kendall County, but it's in Montgomery. So, they've been very involved in it. We had folks involved in that, trying to bring the grid, I guess is what they're calling that location. So that was a very long-term and high-profile economic development project. We also maintained under economic development a revolving loan fund that is available for businesses in the county. They're low interest loans that they can get from us. Sometimes if they can't get for a certain thing from a bank, or it's fully vetted, and we don't just give it out to anyone. So there is a long application process, but it is a way to help local businesses with a low interest loan. It has some strict criteria, mainly to make sure that it's bringing jobs to the area, because that's really what we're trying to do. So, we loan the money, they make monthly payments back with a low interest rate, and then it just keeps cycling. So I believe this money first was awarded to us, and I think every county got it. Am I out of time? Is that what 4 means?
4 minutes.
Okay. So they, it's been going on since the 80s in the county. So, we loan it and then we get it back and we loan it again. So it's a pretty neat program in certain situations for the right businesses. The Health and Environment Committee, I actually chair that one. And it's, as it sounds, oversees all of the health department, which is public health, mental health, environmental health, and education services. They do so much more than I ever realized until I got involved with county politics and county government. It's actually quite impressive, and it's one of my committees that I appreciate the most, just for what they do. Right now, they're obviously very busy with COVID, and they have established we have a standing remote clinic right now for vaccines. It's offsite, so it's not bringing people in through the health department. It's an offsite empty office building, actually, that the city of Yorkville owns, and we did with an intergovernmental agreement with them, so that we have a place that every day we do vaccines there. They have the plans and they're ready to go with the mass vaccination day or days whenever we get to the point that the state has, thousands of vaccine doses to give out. Because Kendall doesn't have a hospital, it's a little different. We didn't get nearly as many doses as some other counties, but they're doing a really good job. The other big thing they do are in the community service department is they're helping people who maybe are sick and can't pay rent. They help refer them to housing or somewhere, or pay for utilities, and even drop off food, if they're home alone and have no one they can call to get them food. So it's a really pretty amazing group. Highway, Amy chairs that one. We'll come back to that. I also chair labor and grievance. So it's exactly what it says it is. We oversee the collective bargaining agreements. We have 11 units of collective bargaining in the county. In the last 2 years, we did 7 of them. So it was busy, but now it's a little quiet. And then I can't remember, was I doing law, Amy, or were you?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, so law, justice, and legislation, we kind of merged 2 of the committees that are separate and that Kane has separately. So it's all over all of the public safety, you know, sheriff, state's attorney, court services. And then we discussed legislation there from the state that impacts the county. So go ahead, Amy,
Yeah,
I'll leave the other 2.
Okay, yeah, so I know we have just a little bit of time. You know, some of these, obviously, like I had said before, are really more internal workings for us as a county and how we manage resources. And that's what we are. We're resource managers at the end of the day, because all these things are in place, you know, obviously to have a oiled machine moving and all the working parts. And we just as county board members sort of facilitate and manage those resources. So when you look at highway, I actually don't chair that, but I am on it. I've been on it for even back when I was on it in 2012. That, you know, obviously there's millions of dollars that come through our highway department. So it's a really important committee, and it's really something that, you know, to attend as board members, definitely to be involved. We get a lot of public actually comment when people come because they want to know why their road looks this way or when's that bridge going in and things like that. So we do see a lot of that. And then we did already kind of touch on the planning, building, and zoning, the PBZ aspect of it. That's sort of that judicial, you know, aspect or quasi judicial that we were talking about, because, you know, some people will come and say they want a variance or a special use for their land. And the biggest one obviously was, you know, with the cannabis legislation. And, you know, but even people that are wanting to do certain things on their own property will come and ask for a special use. And this isn't in the unincorporated areas. So, you know, there are a lot of times, I don't think even as a partisan board, because we are partisan, we've rarely been split on any votes concerning most things in the county. I think I can think of 2, actually, Robin, I don't know, maybe Robin can remember, but possibly 2 where we were split. It did seem a little weighted Republican Democrat type of thing. It's rare that happens because obviously I think most of us on a local level don't, you know, decide big legislative things for the majority of people in a district. So, you know, I think those all typically run pretty smoothly. So, I don't know. Do we have another slide, Robin?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, so yeah, we're good.
That was close to 10. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I know I can get wordy. I always worry that I'm going to, you know, just blah, 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 and then be like, oh, wait, we still have to talk about the subject at hand. So.
Well, thank you very much, Amy and Robin. So we thought we would had a couple of questions, and I again, if there's any more that anybody has, feel free to just type them into the chat and we'll pull them out and I can kind of field them. But you brought up funding and taxes, which you said is often one of the primary things that people mention when you're communicating with constituents. So just to kind of start out really generally, I thought I would ask, like, what are all the sources of funds for the different counties? And then, because I'm sure there's taxes, but I'm sure there's more. And then how would someone find out like what the tax rate is for the different counties? Because are they the same or are they different? If we could just get like a, maybe one person from each county to talk about that so we can kind of hear maybe the similarities and the differences.
Yeah, I mean, from Kendall, I can kind of touch a little bit on that and maybe let Robin, you know, add some. You know, when you look at the funding sources, we actually in Kendall, I don't even know if Kane does, we actually have the motor fuel tax, which is pretty big for us actually, because not everybody has that. We obviously get fines and fees, monies through that, property taxes, that type of thing. I don't know, Robin, am I missing?
We have a public safety tax, so it's a sales tax. So
yeah,
I think that's a half a cent. So that goes to all public safety, the sheriff's office and the jail and that sort of thing. We also get a lot of funding, like grants, a lot of grant funding funding from the state and the federal government. For instance, we have built a new north-south highway, and we needed a bridge to go over the Fox River. So we and that's apparently they've been working on that for 20 years. And
that was from the capital bill from the state, and we do have a lobbyist. Sorry to interrupt you, Robin, but I was so excited about that because we were able to go down and work with the lobbyist and get into that capital bill, because everybody said that we were too small of a county to get in, and people were asking for $100 million and whatever, and we're just need 60 million or whatever the amount was, and they granted that to us. We were very excited to be included in that capital fund. So Robin's right. I mean, a lot of our funds will come from state, federal, obviously our local tax base and property taxes, things like that. So I'm sure Kane probably has, a lot more than we even know about. So I'll let them speak to that.
Well, I'll take the easy ones, Myrna. We do get money from property taxes, and we do get sales tax, which there's a very interesting graph that shows, what it was in 2019, and then there's a lower line for what it was in 2020, and that's a revenue gap for us. Myrna, what else can you add?
Yeah, so for the general fund, basically it is sales tax. Property tax is about 50% of our general fund. We get money from off-track wagering. It's a small percentage of our general fund revenue. There's a lot of small special revenue funds that we have. I can't even name them all, but our general revenue is basically made up of those that Mavis mentioned.
Riverboat?
That's a special fund. Yeah, and that doesn't go in our general fund.
Okay.
And that's generally distributed to fund some of our departments, but also to nonprofits.
So how would someone find what their property tax rate is that goes to the county?
in Kendall, it's actually on your tax bill. I'm good. Give me a second. I'm going to pull one up and show you.
But you also can go to the assessor's office or call the assessor's office. Usually I believe they'll give, oh, look, Mavis is holding up her tax bill. Usually they can give information as well over the phone if they have all of your information. But typically I see people walking into the building asking, for that, and they'll go right to the assessor's office.
And property taxes are public record. So you can look up anyone's property taxes, which is why I'm going to show you my own. I'm going to pull up my own bill and show you, because you can do this anyway. So I'm sure Kane has the same thing. We have, I'm struggling with internet right now. It's on the county website. There's actually a link to to pull up any property. You can either do it by the PIN number or by the name or by the address. And then you can look up the property and see what the taxes are. And it shows you how much goes to each body so when you pay property taxes, a portion goes to the county and to your school district and to fire and all those other things. So it shows you that, because even if there's not necessarily one county tax rate because of the way assessing works. So I might pay a certain tax rate for one. It's hard to explain. It's because it's by like parcels. So bigger sections within an area. So when you look at your tax number, let me share here. When you share, or when you see it, it has your parcel number, which is broken down by your individual lot, and then what neighborhood you're in, and then what township you're in. So that the tax rates vary within there. But if you scroll down in Kendall, it shows you, can you see that? Let me make it bigger. Zoom.
There we go.
There we go.
For us over 50.
So it shows you, the school district in Oswego, where I live, they're getting 70% of my property taxes. So this shows you what the tax rate is. So I pay 6.49615% is the tax rate for the school district. So this shows you the percent of all the other taxing bodies that where my house is contributes to. Park district, everybody contributes to a junior college based on where you live. So in Kendall County, the tax rate's 0.64%. So it's not even 1%. So if you look at it's $700 of my total tax bill goes to the county. So that's a question you get a lot is people think that because they pay their tax bills to the county, that the county is getting a ton of taxes. And all that happens is you're paying the treasurer, and then the treasurer does all the math for all these individual ones and sends the money to the taxing bodies. So it's not actually, the county is just the pass-through bank in a way, it's the pass-through. We're not actually keeping all of that money that we collect. So
yeah, that's a very good thing to state, only because there's so many times where, especially when you're campaigning, people will ask, and I will have my tax bill say, well, actually most of your taxes go to your school. So I'm not taking your money.
And that's the way it is everywhere.
Yeah.
The percentage isn't usually as high as Oswego at 70%, but because of the way school funding is done in Illinois, it is the burden is mostly on taxpayers. So it is this way everywhere that the school district's the highest.
Right.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate you sharing your tax bill with us. I love that. I love that graph that you have on your tax bill. It
really helps. I think you look like you use the same program for Kane, so it looks like
we use the same exact same program. So you can look up your own tax bill if you want, Denise.
Yeah, I do look at it when it comes in the mail, right? Like, I think it's
the pie graph is nice though.
Yeah. To clarify, again, that part that people complain a lot about their property taxes, and yet don't necessarily look at where all that money goes. Right. And the counties are operating on not that much money from the individual tax
right.
amount of our property taxes, and then that really can impact the services that you all are able to provide. So a follow-up question then about funding is, how does a board committee, or how do the committees decide which agencies or departments get allocated what percent of the available funding? So how do you make the decision about where the money comes in, where it's going? How are you dividing it up between the county agencies?
Well, that's pretty much already decided because of the levies. So because you have taxing bodies like the school district, but when you're looking at internally from our general fund, the sheriff's office has a budget, and the health department, I think, they have a levy. So we know we already have to give a certain amount to there, but that's why everybody comes in, talks about their budgets, what their budget percentage is going up, or down, and then we allocate those funds, as best as possible to their wants and needs.
It has to come from the departments,
Mhm.
and the departments will tell us what they need. The sheriff, for some reason, the sheriff just bought a $600,000 vehicle. Maybe it's some kind of a armored safety truck, but they come to us and they tell us that they have these needs, and then we have to judge, is this a need? Is this a toy? And then if it's a safety issue or something like that, then it's up to us to approve those bills. But they do have it in their budget. Most of these items are in their budget ahead of time. We know how many people. The Kane County Board government is extremely lean and mean. We haven't raised our levy in 8 years. Maybe too lean and mean. I mean, they're counting the paper clips over there. So like if you look at this tax bill, I'm not sure. So it's 0.298%, whereas the schools, West Aurora is 5.38. So it's almost 100 times or 50, 40 times as big as what the Kane County Board is asking. So it comes from the departments, from the engineers tell us what they need, and if somebody needs a street fixed, then it's got to go into the budget.
So what do you do then in a year, like I heard you mention that sales tax is down for 2020, understandably so, which then is going to have an impact on your budget in some way. How's that going to play out then in terms of services or things like that moving forward?
Myrna.
Great question, Denise. We start our budget process generally in May. So in May, our wonderful finance director will kind of start asking departments what their needs are, what it compares to last year's needs. Sales tax for some reason has kind of ebbed and flowed depending on the month. I think November sales tax were better this year, 2020, than they were in 2019. So it's kind of still, we don't really have all the numbers in of what we're going to be looking at for our budget, but we do start the process. I'm sure Mr. Onzek is already running numbers and trying to do forecasting to see where we're at. But the process runs from pretty much April, May until we approve the budget in October, November. And all of our budget presentations are on the website. So if you're interested in digging deeper, the presentations I think are in there since 2010 or 2008. And it's basically by department, how much they've asked for every year. So that's always a fun task to go into and go through every department, what they asked for last year, what they're asking for now. So that's a nice homework assignment Mavis and I are going to have in the next few months.
I think when, Denise, when you talk about what do you do when revenues are down, obviously each of those departments where the revenues are down and where they get most of their revenues from, they have to really look at what services then need to be cut. Or, where's the priority in services? Do we cut staff? Do we, have to furlough people? I mean, is there a way to do that? Thankfully, in Kendall County, we really did not have too much of a drop. We didn't see, I think, some of the revenue losses that that some of the other counties did, because they have things like the boat and the things where they see the gambling, where they see the revenues really come in, and we didn't have that much of a drop. In fact, ours went up a little because we started getting the internet sales tax. So I know Robin and I personally probably contributed during our lockdown. So every time we would see on Facebook, we would be like, oh, I bought this, so we thankfully did not see a lot of that. I think we're going to actually see a little bit more of a tighter budgets coming into 2021 because it was so, or 2022, because it was so affected in last year, but we were doing so well. I think our forest preserve really was more affected than anything because of the education programs and things like that got, cut from. Obviously, we had to refund a lot of people that had signed up for programs. So that's where we actually really saw some of the issues was with our forest preserve. So
here's an interesting situation or example of unintended consequences, unforeseen consequences. The state assembly just passed the law that was going to eliminate cash bail, which is good for the people who are too poor to afford cash bail and will languish in jail before, innocent until proven guilty, right? But, and Myrna, you can help me with this. Our county gets a lot of money from those cash bails. And now we've lost that without any warning, really, of the amount of money we're going to lose for that. So, yikes, what happens then?
So are you using that money as kind of a float? Because if they show up, they get their bail back, right?
Yeah, right. Myrna, do you know more details about that?
I don't. I know it's a pretty recent piece of legislation
It's
that's still
very
sitting
recent.
it's still sitting on Pritzker's desk. Our circuit clerk is the one who kind of mentioned, she might be more affected by that particular portion, but we're all still trying to piece together what that legislation will mean for Kane County. I think we won't know until, a few more weeks when we figure it out. And a lot of these, I believe from the language, I think the no cash bail doesn't start until 2023.
Right.
Some other mandates don't start until 2028. So it's going to give us enough time that hopefully we can plan if it does affect us. But I mean, just like everything else, Springfield likes to handle legislations with unfunded mandates attached to them. And that's part of our job is to figure out how to fund an unfunded mandate because, services are needed in our county.
Great. Thank you. So you meant, I want to have this one more question here kind of about funding things. And then I would like to talk about a couple of services. There have been a couple of questions that we have about services. So the last question, it's in the chat, but it's, can you explain how the internet sales tax came to be, what it is, and does Kane County also have it? And maybe if we can kind of get a quick answer to that one, because I want to make sure and leave time for these two other topic areas.
Everybody gets it. Remember when you used to be able to buy things on Amazon and there was no sales tax, which is why Amazon took off. That was hurting local governments because you weren't getting that sales tax locally, and it was hurting the state too, hugely. So they passed the internet sales tax. So now they collect the sales tax for all internet purchases, and then they give a percentage back to each, the location where the taxing would have happened. So I believe they call it a use tax instead of a sales tax is how it gets returned back to the counties. So, and I think that Kendall did better with that because we don't have as many huge shopping areas that Kane does, so when a mall shut down, that sales tax is really impacting you. We don't have a lot of those big shopping areas. So we didn't, we're still getting the little sales tax off of grocery stores and essential businesses, but then everyone was shopping online instead of going to a mall in Kane County. So, I mean, realistically, so that's why our use tax went up. I think we were probably in a fairly rare thing in the county to not be affected by like that, or in the state,
I would agree with Robin on that. We were really surprised because, when we were doing our budget projections, we didn't want to, sort of inflate or project our revenues where they had been, the prior year or even more, because that's kind of what you do. You balance your revenues and the idea of what expenditures are going to be, but we really were trying to be very conservative on those revenues because we just did not know. And when the use tax, started coming in, we were just like, okay. And I think Robin's exactly right. When people weren't traveling outside of the county to go shopping because we don't have a lot of big box stores and things like that, malls, they were staying home in the county, in our municipalities, and they were shopping. So we were seeing all of those monies come in. So
interesting, like these are things you wouldn't necessarily anticipate or be able to project.
And I think, like Robin said, it was kind of rare. I don't know that a lot of counties had that. So it'll be interesting to see some of the smaller counties if that was the way it happened for them as well.
Yeah, great. So let's shift gears a little bit. I'd like to ask a question about the health departments in both counties. And both of you have kind of mentioned about sort of what's happening with COVID and a little bit of the vaccine distribution piece. But what are, if you could both, from both counties, talk about what direct services are available through your county health departments.
Sure. You guys want to go first? I don't.
We do not offer very much in the line of direct services. Is that correct, Myrna?
Sorry. Yeah, we, unfortunately, in I think 2009, we cut some of our services because of budget issues. But we do offer, I mean, I don't know what you mean by direct services. I mean, we have to do food inspections for every restaurant that are, food making, place in Kane County. They we have kind of moms, babies, and family services, but it's very limited. Uh, I'm sorry, I haven't been on the public health
Well, I think
committee for a while.
I think the difference is between health care and public health. So because our health department is a public health department, that involves more in tracking pandemics and warning people and advising people and trying to treat a whole community, not direct healthcare to the people, to individuals.
Right. So it's not like Cook County Health that has a health services and they do direct patient care. We do more health promotion, disease prevention, emergency preparation, those sort of things. So we have the Healthy Kids program, which incentivizes kids to kind of just be active in the community, but no direct health services. I'm not sure if that was your question, Denise.
Yeah. How about Kendall County?
We actually do a lot of direct services. We have we had 6 or 8 counselors. So we have a big mental health clinic within the health department. And it's a sliding scale. They are able to take insurance and not just do Medicaid. So anyone can use them, if they need to, if they can't get an appointment for a mental health thing. We do a lot of vaccine clinics, just like regular immunizations. So people can go in, or if they're traveling, they need an unusual one, they can get that done there. They also started doing in the last couple of years, like immunization clinics at schools. So, 9th grade, 6th grade, whichever, where kids need lots of shots. They actually had a day in Oswego where they hosted a clinic and kids could just come and, for a, I don't know, $25, $30 fee, pay that and get all the shots they needed to be up to date for school. I'm looking at the website too, because we actually have, we monitor TB in the county, which everyone thinks TB is gone, but it's really not. But it's very, very managed. So we help manage, I believe I don't want to say in the teens number of people in the county who are being treated for TB. So, we oversee that and make sure that they're getting the treatment they need for that so that they don't become contagious and spread that.
People can go to the county health departments to get the TB testing.
Yes. And then manage that care afterwards if they are positive.
Is that true of Kane as well?
It is, yeah. So the communicable diseases is something that the public health department tracks and assists with. So TB is one, and the coronavirus would be the other right now.
Sure.
Do you have a mental health facility?
It's all just in our county health building.
Oh.
It's all together.
People go there and stay for a couple of days.
Oh no, we have no overnight. We have no facilities. We don't have any group home or anything. Okay. But
is that something Kane would ever consider doing again? Is like mental health services or any kind of direct care services?
Yes.
I would hope so. I mean, I think that's one thing on our list of things to, move towards is, the need is out there and we know it's great. And, we had programs, in place before, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, Monica's on here. I don't know if she could hear us, but I know she's a huge advocate, and, we're going to try to, push that type of thing back into Kane County. Absolutely.
So one of the things I really wanted to do when I got on the board was copy Kane's mental health court that you have. So if someone's going through the court system and it's obviously because of a mental health issue is why they committed the crime, not just crime, then they can go through the mental health court and be treated, part of their restitution, punishment, whatever, is they, instead of going to jail, they go to therapy and they meet certain appointments and they develop a treatment plan. And if they follow that, then that's their serving their crime for non-violent, simple crimes. And so we're in the process of getting accredited to do that in Kendall County as well. In Kane, because there's not a lot of county mental health services, then they go to private things and private clinics or that sort of thing to do that. We're setting ours up that they could do that, but they can also use our mental health service in the health department. So, and that's all in the same complex where it's located in the county, which is also a good thing for people who are struggling. They may need rides, they may need to take an Uber there, they can do everything in one trip. So that's one of the things that I'm really excited about, that we're progressing towards what Kane does.
And you have no hospital. You have no hospital in.
We don't have a single hospital in Kendall County.
Well, maybe that's why your county board has taken on some of that responsibility.
I'm sure that's why we have more of these health services for sure, because there's not. And then other direct services, our community action does so much, and that's the group I was talking about that helps with the energy assistance, and they do weatherization. So they will go into a home and help people make sure that they don't have cracks around their windows and that sort of thing. They give out energy efficient LED light bulbs. There's a grant that we get of light bulbs, so we give those out. So it's actually amazing, all of the things they do with a pretty tight budget. It's even more lean budget than the county budget. So
we're actually really proud of our health department. So that's why I let Robin talk about it, because she's on the committees and so excited about all those issues. But she's definitely very involved in our health department. So yeah, a good person to ask for that.
It's interesting to hear the differences, in terms of services and between the two different counties. And you can see in each county, gosh, that's a good thing. I wish we had that over here, but it kind of works both ways, right?
Right.
So one last topic area, and we only have a short amount of time for this, but just to talk about any measures that your county board is taking to address climate change. I know, Mavis, this is hard for you to limit yourself on this. And how are you moving towards making the county buildings or facilities energy efficient?
We just got a solar field, so we're very excited about our solar field. So that's been one of the major things that we've done, and it just got up and running, right, Robin? I think in January, or maybe it was December.
It was November, I think. November or December.
Everything got put on hold because of COVID, so it was supposed to be well before that, but we are really hoping that this is going to make a difference and an impact in a way that we can actually expand it and put it in more areas. Because right now, I think it's just funding our public safety centers, right, and the health department. Or
it's that whole complex, right? It's not the health department; it's the courthouse. The complex has public safety and the courthouse and the health department buildings, and so that's where the solar field is. So it's providing the electricity for those buildings,
which they're really huge. They're some of the larger buildings in our, for our county. So it made sense, as well to put them in that area. So we're really excited about that. So we're hoping, like I said, that we can expand that at some point.
Great. Well, we have new EV stations, electrical vehicles charging stations we've been putting in recently. We did get solar panels on one building, and I'd like to get a lot more solar panels on a lot more buildings. We almost passed. I mean, it's got to go through one more vote. Our green building policy, so that from now on, all of the buildings that we build and any changes we make to any of our buildings will be climate friendly. We are in the process of writing a climate action plan. I'm writing a climate action plan to make sure that we're not adding to climate change. So those are some of the, you know what? I left out my slide for my Energy and Environmental Committee that I'm the chairman of. I went, wait, where is it? But So that's in the Energy and Environmental Committee. We have an Energy and Environmental Committee too. So that's some of the things we're doing to combat climate change. And if you have any more ideas, let me know.
I think,
Oh, go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to kind of expand on that. Even when we redid our animal control, we actually put in the LED lights. So I think as you start to renovate some of these buildings, it's easier to say, well, let's go with the newer technology. We also put in the lights that when somebody walks out of the room, it turns off. So you're not ever wasting energy. So I was really proud about that because I've chaired animal control, even the first time I was on the board and this time because, I love that department. So I always wanted to be involved with it. But so I think as we improve these buildings, that's when we can start adding in these environmental friendly aspects, because we do get grants if we use them, or we get money back. We get rebates on, the lights usage was one of the ones that we got rebates for. So all of those incentives really help move this along a little quicker so that we are making a bigger impact.
And I guess I'll add from Mavis's slide that I have up, our no idling and air quality programs, which we're promoting. Also the green economy careers, which I think are, I would say along the same lines, and our Fabulous Fox Water Trail. So we're doing a lot of, kind of tourism, along the water trail, and just, promoting its uses and keeping it healthy. Watershed groups, Mavis, I'll keep going, see if any of this sounds familiar. So if you want to keep talking about
my
it.
plan, aren't you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Recycling and solid waste plans. So many of you who have been involved with the Fox Valley sustainability programs, Jennifer Darland is wonderful. She sets out a recycling plan every year. So you should see one on their website now. I think it's going to be smaller, so we're not going to have a lot of paper. But yeah, I keep mine on my refrigerator just like Linda does. And that's a great piece that King County has every year too.
So one more quick question that's kind of along that, and then we'll have to wrap it up. But are there any collapsing aquifers in either county or plans for water saving infrastructure? This is about and you got 30 seconds to answer this.
Yeah, that's a really hot button topic.
I don't think we have any collapsing, but we have some going dry. So Oswego, we just signed a intergovernmental with Oswego and Yorkville and Montgomery to work with lobbyists in DC to help with money as well, because we all need to do something in Kendall County for sure.
Well, I'll tell you something scary. Joliet is petitioning to take water out of the lake, which doesn't answer your question exactly, but the aquifers are dropping, not as fast. We are doing, there's about 6 sites in Kane County right now that are monitor wells, and we're going to keep studying what is happening to the aquifers. The deepest aquifers are not rechargeable, and that's fossil water. It's like dinosaur water. It's not going to come back again. So we're monitoring that, and everybody just has to keep conserving water and being careful. The municipalities and governing bodies especially have to be careful about leakage of water from the water station to the home. And they can measure that pretty well because they know how many thousands of gallons they put into the pipe, and they know how much they bill on the other end of the pipe. So cities can know how much they're leaking, and that's an important question also. But we have to, our precious aquifers have to be foremost in our minds.
Well, you all have been amazing this evening. Thank you. I'll say plant pollinator and prairie grasses instead of watering. All right, so that's my little final thing, but Thank you, Myrna, Amy, Robin, Mavis. You all have been amazing in answering questions, providing us with so much information about just what happens in county governance and funding and all those kinds of things. I know I feel a lot more educated about what's going on with county boards and everything like that. So thank you so much for taking this evening and for kicking off our civic education series with the Aurora Public Library. So again, let's give them all like,
Thank you.
yay!
Thank you.
Right? Thank you all so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you to the
Thank
Aurora
you.
Public Library. Thank
Yes.
you, Aurora
Yes,
Public
thank
Library.
you.
Yeah.
Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. This is a
you.
lot of fun. Thanks for the opportunity to share. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.